starting workout 2 of the online individual semifinals, set up the workout area as shown in the floor plan. Face the camera during all dumbbell movements. Online semifinal workout 2 begins with you standing behind the first 5-foot work zone. After the call of 3, 2, 1, go, move to the first work zone and complete 50 dumbbell shoulder to overheads. Then, advance the dumbbells to the next work zone for 50 dumbbell deadlifts. After completing the dumbbell deadlifts, move a single dumbbell to the final work zone beyond the GHD. Then return to the GHD for 50 GHD sit-ups. After the GHD sit-ups, move to the final work zone and accumulate 100 single-arm dumbbell overhead squats, switching arms as needed. Finally, move the dumbbells back to the deadlift work zone and cycle through each movement in the same fashion. Time stops after you complete the final dumbbell shoulder to overhead. Your score will be the total time it takes to complete the event or the total number of repetitions completed at the time cap. There is no tie break for this event. After the workout is complete, walk to the camera and state the password before moving or turning off the camera. You and your dumbbells must remain in the designated work zone. If your feet touch or cross the lines at any time, the rep will not count. The dumbbells must be at the shoulders with the hands below the ears to begin the shoulder to overhead. A press, push jerk, or split jerk are all permitted as long as the finish position is achieved. The rep is credited when dumbbells are locked out overhead. Your arms, hips, and legs must be fully extended before you lower the dumbbells. The center of both dumbbells must be over or slightly behind the center of your body with your feet in line. You may not have assistance resetting or moving equipment during the workout. Common no reps for this movement include pressing out in front of the body instead of overhead. It's also common to see an incomplete lockout of the arms. Finally, often athletes will lower the dumbbells before reaching full lockout. You must hold the dumbbells by the handles outside of the legs. Sumo deadlifts are not allowed. Each rep begins with at least the front head of both dumbbells touching the ground at the same time. The rep is credited when the athlete's hips and knees are at full extension and the head and shoulders are in line vertically over the hips. Deliberately bouncing the dumbbells is not allowed. Common no reps include missing full extension of the hips and the shoulders and head not clearly aligned over top of the hips at the top of each rep. Each rep begins and ends with the athlete seated at the top of the GHD with their hands touching the foot pads. You must touch the ground or the designated riser with both hands before returning to the seated position. The touch on the ground must be overhead and not to the side of the body. The same is true if you're using a riser. The fingers must be at least in line with the top of the head when the athlete is viewed from profile. The rep is credited when both hands touch the foot pads. Common no reps include missing the touch of the foot pads at the start of your first repetition. It's also common to see athletes touch the ground to the side of the body instead of overhead. You must hold the handle of the dumbbell, and the dumbbell must remain horizontal. Each rep begins and ends with your hips and knees fully extended, and your head and shoulders in line vertically over the hips. The dumbbell must be held overhead. A full snatch may be used for any rep that begins with the dumbbell on the floor. At the bottom, the hip crease must pass below the top of the knees. The non-lifting hand and arm may not be in contact with the body during the rep. Pushing off of the hips or legs or stabilizing the dumbbell with the free hand is a no rep. Credit will be given when the athlete returns to a position with the dumbbell overhead, the hips and knees fully extended, and the head and shoulders in line vertically over the hips. You may switch hands as needed. There is no minimum or maximum on each arm. If the dumbbell makes contact with any part of your body, the rep will not count. Common no reps will include holding the dumbbell vertically or by the head instead of the handle. This will not count. Athletes often also miss depth when they're fatigued and their technique starts to degrade. This can be seen commonly when the heels start to lift, causing the hips to no longer drop below the knees. It's not the heels that are the issue, but the hips must clearly descend below the top of the knee for the repetition to count.